This should be a glove box, but alas, it is but a useless hole. In this video, I'm going to be remedying this by repairing the plastic dashboard so it can properly accept this new glove box door I purchased. I'll be using a combination of plastic welding and 3D printing to accomplish this, so stick around if that's your cup of tea. To begin, one of the things that I need to do is rebuild this section here, and I thought about using some Kydex that I had laying around that I was using for another project, but it's pretty thin in comparison to this material. It would probably work to use it and basically just form it to be this shape roughly, and then use the plastic welder that I'll use later on to marry it all together. But I can go one step further because I have a 3D printer at my disposal. So I'm going to take some measurements here and basically just print a piece to put behind here and fill in that space. And then that'll let me use the plastic welder to really make a nice joint here, because this is the part that I think will be the most challenging to rebuild. And then over here, this part here is pretty straightforward. Just get that back lined up, and I fortunately have access to kind of sneak behind it with my hand to get this back together, and then use some different techniques to marry that all together, which I'll show you. But back here, these things, these little tabs that hold the hinge have broken off as well. So what I'll do here is I will actually 3D print a little support that I'm going to put behind here, and then I can attach it all together with the plastic welder and have a nice backstop to be using. Because I could completely rebuild this and 3D print this, but for me that'll be challenging, and you got to cut that out, and I got to figure out that design, and it's not really worth it, I don't think. I think I can get away with just using the plastic welder to put a little support behind this thing so I can kind of attach it back together. That should be all I need to do. I'm looking forward to using this plastic welder. I've never used one before myself, but I've seen a lot of videos on it, and it seems like it'll be the perfect tool for fixing this, and they're not much money. So let me go ahead and I'll take some dimensions here and 3D print some little parts for my application. Now, just trying to figure out what this diameter is. I think it looks like it's a weird chamfer to nothing, but looking at it, I think it was just a cylinder when they designed it. It's basically just a cylinder that they put down on an angle. So this, I think, is just a fixed diameter all the way back. Just it angles down and disappears. So if I can get sort of this flat and then this to marry up, I think I'll have the right measurement. None of this is super critical. I really just need a fixed spot for this circle so that I can put this grommet in there, because that's the retention part, and I want that to stay fixed. So I just need to get it pretty close so that when I weld it together, it holds this. So I like getting things precise if I can help it, because it'll be a nice, nice look, but none of this is too critical for what I'm doing here. And these tools are really neat because it gets you the shape right off of it, and then you have a way to measure it somewhere else. Yeah, I almost wonder if this is actually this diameter around at the top, and that is whatever that projection is, that direction. Because when I measured it, it didn't really seem quite circular. It seemed like sort of a curved surface, which might be an ellipse of basically that projected line. I think it'll look nicer too to sort of match this. Yeah, when you look at this on an angle, you can kind of see it. I find it fun to guesstimate on what the design process was for engineers when they make stuff, because for a plastic injection mold or a plastic mold like this, it's easy to do. But look at how closely that matches that. Yeah, I think that was a curve off of this. My very beautiful sketch here. I think I've got enough dimensions to figure it out, but we'll see. So now I'll get something for up here. And that one is much less critical. It's just I need something to back. I want something to have back behind these little hingy bits here so that I can kind of strengthen that up, because it'll be hard to weld. I can't really weld in there, so I think I'll have to come up from the top somehow and marry that all together. So let me quick whip up some models for this and 3D print it. I have used all the major professional level solid modeling programs out there throughout my engineering career, and my personal favorite is SolidWorks. SolidWorks has a version available for makers that has most of the important features of the professional level software for just $10 a month. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, I just like the program. The key to success with this project is this wonderful plastic welding gun that comes off of Amazon for a dirt cheap price. It comes with all these different bits and bobs, but essentially what it is, it's a big heat gun that puts heat through here, and you can use it with these little staples essentially that help you put the plastic pieces back together. And there's all sorts of different stuff in this kit. There's different like meshes to really reinforce certain things, and some metal backing pieces, and there's some very general instructions in broken English on how to use this tool, but it's pretty straightforward. This kit in particular even comes with basically everything you need to get started, various plastics and cutting tools that from the reviews seems like this is about worthless, as well as this guy, but hey, it's in there. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. I'm sure you have some to use already. And then you got like these guys which you put on the end, and it lets you essentially melt the plastic. You put this on the end and drag it along, and it lets you melt the plastic in between as it's moving along. So I'm going to go ahead and try and repair that crack, and then somehow utilize what's in this kit to kind of attach that piece that I printed to the bottom of it to help support it. Of course, I screwed up my recording when I started this process, so my first staple was recorded in a very slow time lapse of 5 seconds between frames, which just so happens to be how long you should hold the trigger to heat up each staple before sticking it into the plastic. So let's see one in real time. Wow, that's pretty awesome. So this is another style of them. This is meant for external corners, so I'll go ahead and try this one out for this area here that more or less is an external corner of where the crack is at. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and yeah, it just kind of almost cuts through it. It talks about putting some of that metal tape essentially on the back as a backer, but I don't have good access back there, so I'm going to skip that step. I have a little thermal camera, a FLIR camera, so let's see this thing operate in FLIR. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. More or less see how it has that heat there. Kind of neat. I'm not looking for perfection here, I'm just trying to get this pretty well back together. In theory I can cut these off with the included clippers, but I heard they don't work. Let's see how well they function. Ah, they're fine. I think it's just the competitors all making stuff up to try and get you to buy theirs, because, like, come on, what are the chances these won't work? I'll probably use safety glasses for this. I'm just closing my eyes when I do these. They fly off. And what I should really do is finish off with this corner here, because cracks tend to continue, and I don't want this one to. Now, it talks about it having a patented slit design for these to just break off, but that's a bunch of hooey. And now I'm going to just try to smooth it over to make it a little prettier. If I was doing something where this was really structurally important, I would pay a little bit more attention, but this part here I don't think is all that important for what I'm doing. So I'm just sort of smoothing stuff over. Now let's see about this part. Okay, so that's really just to sort of tack it. I just sort of got to the side and touched them back together. Okay, so what I'm thinking here is I'm going to come in from this way and try and do something a little funky. It's mediocre, but that's what the support underneath is going to be for, mainly. But that puts a little bit of some strength in between the two parts again, and then I'll have that support underneath, and I think this will work pretty good. And what'll be a little challenging is I gotta get in there and clean that up a little bit, but I think my Dremel has something that can get in there and just clean that corner up so that I can put the hinge in there. Even as it is now, that is rigidly attached together, and if I didn't have my little piece underneath, I think that would be a good enough repair. But I have it, so I'm going to put it in. So I'm sure some of the ways I'm trying to use this are a little bit unconventional, but like now I want to try and marry just this whole assembly together and tie it together like so. And I think I can get away with this. Basically I'm gonna, and it's all eyeballing, but I'm gonna try and do the following. Did it work? I don't actually know. Just need to do one there, and I think I'll be calling this good. I printed these in PLA because I thought I had black PETG, which I think would be better for this, but I didn't. I only had red, and that was going to be a little too ugly for me. So PLA probably isn't ideal. I think it'll be fine in the end, but if you have PETG and you want to try this, I think that would be the better option. Okay, I think structurally this is way strong now. So I'm going to cut all these little bits, get the Dremel, and try and clean that up a little bit. And, well, see what happens. And what I'm utilizing is this awesome kit that Dremel sells. It's their highest end Dremel, and it comes in this awesome box. And it just has everything you pretty much need to do your Dremeling. And of course you can get extra stuff too. But this kit is really cool. In the description I have a link for it if you're interested in one of these. All right, it's not the prettiest, but I would say it did a very good job of structurally attaching this all together. And you could take the time to make it prettier if you needed to, but this is just a utility vehicle for us, and I just want a place to put gloves, or whatever we put in here. Give this a test run here. Wow. Now I still got to do the bottom part. It actually kind of works without it, but I'm going to complete the job. Because it has a grommet in there, but it just catches, but I can do better. Yeah, that's great. I mean, it feels strong. I'm sure, you know, if you try hard enough, I'm sure you can break it, but I'm not trying to. Okay, so before I even got to bringing this down here, I had been thinking about how the heck do I get this through that hole? Because it's really quite wide and it'd be hard to suck it through to get the grommet in there. And I'm thinking, yeah, it's really easy to do it this way. And I even thought before that maybe this wasn't fully around, but just by looking at it, I didn't really understand how, if they didn't have it as a full circle, how this could all break out. So I assumed it had to be one piece and somehow the whole thing ripped out. But when I was trying to figure out which way this grommet went, just to be sure, because it's kind of two different orientations, I was looking at a part diagram online, and sure enough, this was some kind of slotted thing where this popped down in and this just kind of came around and wasn't a full circle. So I'm not sure how they ripped out both sides and all the way back here, but somehow it was managed. But obviously that's a weak point of this thing, and I've already got a pretty good model of this interface. So what I'm actually going to do is create my own modification and sort of make this more structurally sound. So the idea will be that I will bring this piece, it'll, you know, go down in here, and I'll actually bolt it to it. I'll have some little screws that attach this little plate here. So then I can just put this in like so and put this sort of grabbing plate on it, and it'll be much stronger rather than doing the plastic welding that I planned to do originally. I think that'll be a little bit better and easier and a little bit nicer looking than the plastic welding job that I was going to do. Still do that up here, the plastic welding, because I don't have much of a choice, but I think this will be better for this portion of it. I also found that it looks like this is maybe 2 degrees off of what I measured. I measured 65 degrees. It looks like it's actually more like 63 degrees, doing a remeasurement in a different way. So I will reprint this with that new concept. And the last thing I need to try to figure out is what the interface between this surface, like basically this corner up here, is on this plane, because I'll be mounting to this. So that's my last little challenge here, is to try and get a pretty good number so I can marry these two components together. Found some screws that I had laying around. They're way too big, but they have a nice thick thread to them. So just do a big flange and bump, bump, right like that, you know, kind of upside down like this here, and use these to attach it. This is going to be a nice little part, I think. And I got my new 3D part printed. Looks pretty good. And now I need to just chop away at all this till it goes in without taking out too much, because I don't want to have to print it another time. So now my Dremel is bigger, easier to wield. Yeah, it looks like my first prototype here is just a little bit off. Just the dimension of this is just a little bit too high. You know, I have to move these tabs a tad. But it's going to go in pretty nice when it's done here. but I will give this another little test run, see how this is functioning. So one thing I didn't like about this when I picked it up, you can tell, I mean, now it's really nice and rigid. I like that, but I can see why it got broke. It's a little finicky to use it. You want to just pull up this way and it works, but it's, I don't know, it doesn't really feel good. But maybe once I have this all finished up and in there nice, it'll be just right. I'm back with another version of my little grommet holder. All I need is to put in my screws and I'm done. I'm really happy with this, I think. And I can only know as soon as I do this. Nice. Now this thing's all done. It's a little finicky, and I am not surprised why it got broken in the first place. It's not a very official setup, but it works. But I think I got it back to pretty much how it was factory, which is great. I hope you enjoyed this video and liked learning about this thing. This was the main reason I wanted to make this video. I have had many plastic things break, and I've gone through very many bad ways of fixing them, and this thing is definitely the tool for the job. So happy to have used it, and I'm very happy that I can finally put my gloves in my glove box. And as always, have a good one.